Hey folks, welcome back. It's Broker Talk. It's another half-hour show. We are so lucky today to have William P. O'Donnell, Register of Deeds here in Norfolk County. Thank you for being on the show, William. Can I call you Bill? I know that's...
Larry, call me Bill. I appreciate you being on your podcast and your show here, and it's part of what we've done here at the Registry of Deeds.
Yeah.
The Norfolk Registry of Deeds is many times it's a sleepy arm of government people don't know much about, but when you think about it, it deals with the biggest asset you as a broker deals with, your home.
Yeah. I always say food, shelter, and clothing are the necessary things of life. We're number 2 on that hit parade. We're shelter, you know?
Well, hopefully I appreciate the opportunity to be here and to just give out some information and certainly some people say, well, what is the Registry of Deeds? And it's a place where documents that impact community, whether it's the deed to your home, or you got a variance from the Board of Appeals, or there's a Conservation Commission order. All these documents get recorded, and since 1793, that's when the Norfolk Registry of Deeds was started, these documents get recorded here in Dedham, and you can physically come here. We still print books. We're one of the few registries that print the books. You can come here at 649 High Street in Dedham, across from the Gold Dome, Norfolk Superior Court. Or one of the things I'm proud about it as my tenure as register, and it didn't happen overnight, is when I first started, the internet was just starting. People kind of forget that wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
But all these records are back to 1793. But more important, you can access the records on our website, but you can access some of the information we're going to talk about, whether you're a first-time home buyer or you need foreclosure assistance. Go to our website, www.norfolkdeeds.org. And my father used to climb poles for the old Boston Edison for 38 years, and you tell him you're modernizing the registry and computerizing, and he said, remember, not all of us like the computer, want the computer, want anything to do with the computer. And I always harken back to that and, some of the other jobs I've had where, you still have to have that personal touch. So you can call our customer service center at 1-781-461-6101. And, we have staff there that will try to help you and get you information.
Well, Bill, you really don't need me here. You're just giving us all the information without me being involved. But I want to know, you did call it a sleepy arm of the government. So what superpowers does the Register of Deeds have that nobody else has?
With some of the political battles going on, trying to maintain what we have is a great registry here in Norfolk County. There are 21 registries around Massachusetts, and I guess the superpowers I have is there's no I in team. Believe it or not, I still play hockey. I'm getting too old to be doing that, but I coach sports. My children were involved. But I've tried to apply that to the registry. Right. I have a great staff here.
Yeah.
We have great people, and that staff is here to serve the citizens of Norfolk County and beyond. Because as you know, there could be attorneys from Worcester, Massachusetts, or Springfield, or out in Berkshire County, that when they do closings have to record documents here at the registry. So our superpower is, I think it's the same superpower on the 11th register in Norfolk County's history, but it's the same superpower the register in 1793 had. You better make sure those records are recorded accurately, securely, and that the community has access to them. Now, back in 1793, they had to come in and horseback here to Dedham and look things up. And you can still do it that way.
Not easily. I haven't seen a single place to park a horse.
Well, yes. But we do have parking out back at the Norfolk Registry. But more importantly, we've utilized technology. And so the modernization initiatives that have been implemented during, my tenure as register, I think that's not a superpower. That's having a great team in place. And what do I mean by modernization initiatives? First of all, we have 50 computers sprinkled around the building here at 649 High Street that are open to the public. They can come in, much like your local library, and you can do research.
Right.
more importantly, our mission, I thought, was to bring the registry records into people's homes and businesses. So it didn't happen overnight, but we've concluded a project that started, back in 2002, 2003, when we put a new computer system, a new document management system in at the registry.
Right.
And what does that document management system allow you to do? You can go on www.norfolkdeeds.org and do research.
Right.
And we have, and again, for the people listening, the biggest asset is your home. You want to look up some information with your home, but more and more people are looking up information for historical purposes,
right.
genealogical purposes. So all our records back to 1793 are online.
Right.
All our indexes are integrated with those records. So I always tell people I'm not good at telling jokes or singing, but we have great trivia at Norfolk County. There were 4 presidents of the United States born here in Norfolk.
Yeah, exactly.
And
exactly.
2 of them I'm going to mention right now, John Adams and John Quincy Adams.
Right.
If you enter John Adams' name, you can actually see the deed between John Adams, the 2nd President of the United States, to John Quincy Adams, the 6th President of the United States, his son. And so there's all kinds of information that is there. And the other thing, as far as our records that we're very proud of, and John McCulloch, who was recently passed away, but a noted author, wrote a nice letter about how great it is to do research. And we transcribed our documents.
Right.
So back in 1793, they took the person with the best penmanship and they transcribed and wrote out in cursive those documents.
Yeah.
So if you went to Book 1, Page 1, the first document, which is a deed from Foxborough, one of our 28 communities, you hit it and you see the legal document, which is handwritten. But if you hit another button, it's a transcribed, they transcribed into text what that handwritten document is. So we've tried to make these records accessible.
That's amazing. And I think one of the most amazing statistics in all of that since 1793 is you're only the 11th person to hold this office. So you guys really you're long livers.
Well, and you got to like what you're doing. I think all
exactly.
I've tried to build on. I look at the registers, and I think we all. When I've done some research, and everyone tried to leave the registry in a little better place.
Right.
And I think what happened, I came in when the internet was just starting and,
right.
and getting going, and the whole concept of using technology, and we've taken things. For instance, we have electronic recording. If you as a broker, Larry, are doing a closing at someone's office, say in Bellingham, Massachusetts, or Quincy, Massachusetts, when I first got here, they would have to either transport
have a runner
to the courier, or again, we still do closings here at the registry. We made space available and still have space available to do the closings here.
Very loud.
Just going.
And everybody's there. It's a great energy, but it's
right. But sometimes you need that peace and quiet. Well, electronic recording. When I started this register, no one envisioned that.
Right.
It got authorized by the federal government, the state government, and now 80% of our records on the recorded land side come through electronic recording, where that attorney in Bellingham or Quincy can now transmit the documents electronically. And that was another modernization initiative. Another modernization initiative, and I hope people out there realize your records are protected.
Right.
The deed to your house, by law, we have to microfilm. And people might say, well, what good is microfilming? Well, we store it off-site at a couple of nuclear...
Yeah. Just in case something happens.
And think about it, things can happen.
Things do happen. Things do happen.
They had a flood.
Right.
Imagine if we had a flood here in the registry.
Or a fire,
And the registry in February of 2 years ago had a fire. Luckily, thanks to the Denver Fire Department, they put it out. But at least we have the microfilm, but we also have the tape drives.
Right.
And, we have a disaster recovery system put in place where, thank God we did, because we used all this to get through COVID, and I have to thank my staff. We stayed open and operational every day through COVID.
I like going into the Registry of Deeds and Dedham. It's a nice place, but I want to warn you. We have a game people play, and when we have a guest on, the number of times they give out their URL, that's a drinking game on Broker Talk.
Well,
It's early.
You might need a ride home when you're dealing with me. So
That's funny. Hey, I want to.
and again, and the reason I give out www.norfolkdeeds.org is this: people are geared, and there's so much information on that website.
There is.
First of all, it's how you get in if you want
Right.
to record documents and things.
Right.
If you want to look up information. Some of your people might be first-time home buyers, or they might be selling a house 20
Right.
years later after they
Right.
bought it. We have information for first-time home buyers. We have partnered up with two nonprofit groups, NeighborWorks Housing Solutions and Quincy Community Action Program, for people who struggle with foreclosure. So you can get information with
very
foreclosure.
important.
And my advice is they're nonprofit. Get that advice.
Right.
Don't wait till your house is being
Right.
sold, or
Right.
by the sheriff, or go to a broker and get some advice as well.
Exactly.
Seek information. And there's also information that's good for the consumer on that
Right.
website, and we might talk about some of it.
Well, I wanted you to do that. Talk about the consumer notification program, because that's a program not a lot of people know.
Not a lot of people know about it. The Consumer Notification Anti-Fraud Program, we're one of the first registries here in Massachusetts to do this, and we've done it for years. Now it's becoming more noticeable because there's commercials on TV from LifeLock or other groups, and those commercials, they scare people into realizing that there could be fraud in
Right.
deeds and mortgages. And I'm not dismissing, because they have FBI people, former FBI people. I know they have a criminal on there saying what they do to do it. So it's happening in other areas of the country. It happened in California. It's happened in Chicago. It's happened in Philadelphia. So it's only a matter of time where this is going to become prevalent.
Right.
And one thing the FBI has said is the fastest growing white collar crime is property, deed, and mortgage fraud. So what did we do as a registry? Well, we did this way before all this became chic, so to speak. You could sign up through our website, and I've done it myself, where I get an email notification anytime a document in the name of William O'Donnell comes through. Now, I'm William Patrick O'Donnell, but I get notified, and it could be William J. O'Donnell. Oh, it's not me, or William T. O'Donnell. And again, we're not preventing the fraud. I want your listeners to
You're alerting it to.
But what we're doing is, if you get a notice, and I may get a notice sometime, and I may look and say, wait a minute, that's not the deed. That's the deed to my house. My wife didn't sign it. I didn't sign that. Or, wait a minute, that's a mortgage or an equity line. I did not sign that.
More importantly.
We didn't prevent the fraud, but we can get on it right away.
Right.
And we can, and again, if you, some people might not be comfortable with the computers, but if you sign up for the service and you get a notice, you can call our customer service center, which I had given you the number earlier, where they can kind of help you through it. And the reason why I think that's important is the frauds are out there.
Yeah.
And Google Halle Berry, the famous actress, and somebody tried to,
Right. They're out there, and the more you have, the easier it is to go after you. And
Massachusetts residents should be, again, it's the biggest asset you have. And, some people don't like getting emails, but the way we gear it, that email, I think it's a small inconvenience for protecting the biggest asset you have. So, and the consumer notification, more and more people are signing up for it, because more and more people are saying, wow, I signed up for that private organization that we see on TV.
Right.
I didn't realize you can get it free here in Norfolk County.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's a very special program, and having the ability to know. Now, you said you can't prevent. No, the notification can't prevent the fraud, but the minute you can prevent the fraud, because you can alert your bank, or you could come to the Registry of Deeds and say, this is not me. What do I do?
It much like I'm sure people have had issues with credit cards getting compromised. You didn't prevent this bad thing that's happening, but you got to get on it right away.
Right.
And think about it. When my parents bought a property in Norwood, I grew up in Norwood in 1960. they bought the property. They didn't ever looked at a deed until, years later,
When they went to sell.
But now you have to stay on top of things. That's
Yeah.
the society we live in.
Yeah.
And the consumer notification anti-fraud program here at Norfolk County, I think, is one way that just to put an extra layer of protection against what's going on in society.
Right.
I was a former assistant district attorney here, worked for Bill Delahunt in Norfolk County. I mean, even back then, you saw what people are capable of doing.
Right.
In our society now, it's gone to a whole new level.
It is. The internet, a lawyer who's now passed on once told me there's not more crime now. We just know more about crime because of the internet and everything that you're seeing. You wouldn't see what happened in a school somewhere else for a couple of days. I mean, there is the Whaling Museum in Nantucket. And in that Whaling Museum, there are a series of letters that were sent back and forth. Well, these letters from these whalers that would go out for 2 years or so, they would hand letters to somebody and those people would, and so you wouldn't see somebody for 6 months. And there was a letter that said to the husband, "Where's the hammer? I need to fix the roof." So a year later, she gets a letter and she says, "Why do you need the hammer?"
Well, some of it is still, we're a fast society, but that's why the internet has been good.
Right.
People
Exactly.
If your listeners go to our website, they can learn about the homestead.
What was that website again?
The homestead is an act of the state legislature, and really, I'm an attorney, and attorneys get a bad knock. You talk to 10 different attorneys, you get 10 different opinions. But I bet you 9.9 out of 10 attorneys would say, if you own a house, you should have a homestead.
Right.
The legislature has allowed you to record a homestead here in Massachusetts, which in essence puts a picket fence around your house.
Yeah.
You have to pay your taxes, of course, so you have to pay your mortgage, and they can go after you. But there's other troubles you can get into, a bad car accident. They cannot force the sale of your house if you have a homestead recorded on your property.
Right.
And there's other little benefits to the homestead.
Now that covers the first 500,000, correct?
Right, but I think even though houses' expenses have gone up, I think judges know the interpretation of law. They're not going to.
Oh, okay. I understand. I understand. Yeah.
Really good. I know the legislature, and there's been some legislative changes made, and thank you, local legislators, to the homestead. I know one of the things they're looking is to up that amount.
Sure.
But yes, for a relatively small fee, a recording fee, which is set by the state legislature of $35 to get that type of protection.
Right.
And the other protections it gives you is if you go to sell your house, if you have a recorded homestead, creditors can't swoop in at the closing to get those proceeds for a limited period of time, in that case 1 year. But just say your house burnt down and the insurance company cut you a check to build up, creditors can't come in and swoop in if you have a recorded homestead for 2 years. So there's some little protections, and big protections. It's the biggest asset we have, and hopefully you'll never need it. But people should consider getting a homestead. I think that's a best practice.
For $35, I mean, that's a very.
And we have those, information and actually forms.
Right.
They can download because don't fall prey. There's a scam going out there they target elderly. For $10, they'll get you a homestead form. They won't fill it out for you, so don't fall prey to that scam. Mortgage discharge is another best practice, and probably you as a broker have seen that, where suddenly the day of the closing, a couple of days, we need a discharge.
Does Silicon Valley Bank, to the banks that are having problems right now this week, they could go away? Let me explain the problem to the audience here. If your bank leaves and they have a bank discharge because you got your loan from them, if they don't sign off on that and fully discharge, and you go to sell years from now, and we're not talking about SVP right at the moment, and I don't even know if they have any of these, but if that bank is gone, how do you get the bank to discharge it? And so that's what we're talking about, the importance of your discharge.
And people should realize, what is a discharge? It's a 1 or 2 page document that tells the world that you've paid off a loan, you paid off a mortgage. banks, when you borrow money from a lender or a bank, they record a mortgage because they want to make sure they get paid. And what we're seeing, or it happened, there's been reforms, but a lot of people, sometimes the banks never recorded the discharges, and I know the Attorney General got involved in that. And sometimes, and we see it when we go go to the town halls, and people come in and say, "Hey, I need to get a discharge," and I say, "Hey, can I look through your paper?" And sure enough, the original discharge, it was sent to them by the bank, but they never made it clear that they got to take it to the registry to record.
Oh,
So
yeah.
to your point, Larry, what happens to a bank? Go to our website, www.norfolkdeeds.org. We have a document there, or a section, "Where has my bank gone?"
Yeah.
Where we give you federal and state contact information to find out where your bank went. Some banks have merged, and you have to track it down.
Right.
And what I love about Massachusetts, there's a lot of great community banks that have been around since
Sure.
the 1900s.
Sure.
You could go to them, and I'm sure they give great community customer service. "Hey, I need a discharge." They look it up, they'll see you didn't pay it, that you paid it off, and they'll give you a discharge and just make sure it gets recorded at the registry. But people that have to chase down paper at discharges, and never mind the problem you just addressed, because people forget banks did go out of business. I know we're not heading in that direction in the 1990s, and I know I had to chase the FDIC to secure a discharge for someone. It wasn't an easy process. But you want to make sure when your mortgages are done, when you've paid it off, and maybe you've paid it off, lucky you don't have any debt. Or maybe, like some of us who maybe have children, college and other obligations,
use the funds.
We refinance and get a lower rate or to take out a little equity. Make sure that those loans that you refinance, because they were discharged, they were paid off, but you don't want 10 years from now when you go to sell the house, and certainly brokers don't like that, those last minute calls where it's a title problem. So the mortgage discharges, I think it's better for the consumer. And a lot of consumers go, "Well, wait a minute, the bank should have done it, or the lawyer should have done it." You're right.
Of course they should have.
But it's your property. So to me, even though other people should have done something, the person that's going to bear the burden is the consumer, is the person that owns the property when they're trying to sell it. So, and maybe that's what you do. You get on the bank, or you get on that closing attorney, and you'll make sure they chase it, but don't, trust but verify. If I see, and it's an easy way to do it. You can do it on our website, or you can call our customer service center. You can actually, on your own, do the research. You run your mortgages and see if they've been discharged.
Right.
But if you can't, you can call our customer service center. And if there are mortgages that have been paid off, including equity lines, people say they like, "Oh, I don't use the equity line, and I got another one." Well, that old equity line, you might not be using it. But if you're not using it, it should be, and you have no intention, it needs to be discharged. So make sure you secure, as a consumer, your mortgage discharges, or be aware of it, so that when you do, pay off a mortgage, that at some point that discharge, and sooner than later, should be recorded.
Sure. And one of the things was not so long ago for an old guy like me, but, the 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, the banks were forced to be of help because the housing.
The sleepy arm of government, the registers, were involved with the Attorney General. And some of that was done through litigation. Some of it was done through your legislators, through some statutory reforms, which put some teeth into the fact that, hey, you have to, once these things are paid off, you have an obligation to get the discharge.
Yeah.
Now, I think the smaller banks did a great job. It was the bigger banks. And they're doing a better job. And also, as I said, sometimes they're doing a much better job if they do mail it to the consumer, making it clear to the consumer, you have to take that discharge and get it recorded at the registry.
Yeah.
And, feel free to come by. If you have a discharge, come by 649 High Street to have it recorded, or check our website. Or, a lot of times we're at the town halls doing office hours and things like that. But if you're like me, type A, I want to walk through the door and make sure it gets.
I like that personal part. The pandemic really changed. I mean, very few. There weren't any closings during the pandemic. For I think it was for a year, and before And then now we're able to do it. It's a great energy. Other people buying and selling their houses. But now you never even see that. It's all arm's length kind of stuff. And
Yeah, well, the pandemic, and as I said, some of the modernization initiatives that were done here at the registry never envisioned a pandemic.
right,
But I look at it, good thing we did. Good thing all our documents were on. Some registries around Massachusetts don't have all their
right,
indexes and documents back to year one, 1793 on. So lawyers could do research from their office. They didn't have to come into the registry. Our staff was here. I mean, we had to do team approach, and we had a mailbox there. But that electronic recording, not only could not all registries in Massachusetts can do electronic recording on the recorded land side or the land court side. There are two types of land in Massachusetts, the recorded land and the land court side. Well, in 2016 into 2017, the Registers of Deeds worked, and Governor Baker signed into law, a law that said, well, originals don't have to be kept. So that allowed electronic recording on the land court side. Now, we didn't know it do this in 2017 because we thought a pandemic was coming in 2020. But good thing we did, because at least in Norfolk County, when closings still took place during that year, it's just, as you say, the energy of having everybody in the room and the camaraderie and the business connections weren't there.
Right.
And that's what I missed because, the registry used to have the people here.
Right.
Now I think people post-pandemic are used to, hey, wait a minute, we can do things and then record things electronically. Well, that's because steps were taken well before the pandemic to utilize the modernization initiatives to make sure that the Registry of Deeds, a sleeping arm of government, what I try to do is bring the business side that, I was in the private sector, bring that type of thinking to a government agency. And good thing we did because, now, I dare say we have disaster recovery. We back up all the documents, and there's a tremendous amount of documents. And we did this. We had we had over 200,000 documents recorded during the pandemic years, during 2020 and 2021.
Yeah.
Very busy years.
Very busy.
It was a pandemic.
Right. It was a crazy world in real estate during that time. Especially, when everything was going so far over the asking price. But if it was on the market for 4 days, that was a surprise.
Right. And the numbers show that you had low interest rates. There was a lot of refinancing. So, and when I say a sleeping arm of government, we collected over $82 million. Wow. Now, a lot of that money goes to the state. Most of it goes to the state, comes back in the form of, we collect Community Preservation Act money. Hopefully it comes back to the communities that adopted that. The money's come back in local aid. So, those documents that come in, we have another obligation is to collect the monies and get it to the Department of Revenue so that, hopefully good things that government can do get done at the local level with this money.
So one last question or thing to talk about is you keep mentioning 1793, which is almost 1800, but we all know that this community started in the 1500s or even earlier in the 1400s. What about records like some of those buildings in Boston and around that have been around since the 1600s?
Well, Governor John Hancock, one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence, signed a law into 1793 that started Norfolk County. And it's funny, you mentioned some people that are doing research in Boston come to this registry. And why? Because in 1793, South Boston, Dorchester, Roxbury, Reedville, Hyde Park, West Roxbury were all part of Norfolk County. So we actually have some Boston records here that people go to research. Now, before 1793, that's not here in Norfolk, but you got, the Secretary of State's office has information, Suffolk County.
Right.
As well. The oldest register, and I always take a tip of my hat to Register John Buckley. He's the Plymouth Register. When you walk in, he has America's first registry. Which I think is
like Delaware, America's.
And he actually has, the deeds for the Mayflower Compact, but we just
That's cool, though.
we just
That's
have four
cool.
presidents of the United States. They go back to the Pilgrims, but you're right. It's like a puzzle.
Right.
So people are always like, well, why do I have to research in Boston property in Norfolk County? Well, those communities were part of that, and that may be a little trivia. People look at Brookline, which is part of Norfolk County, and it's an island. Well, it was connected. It's just other communities annexed into the city of Boston and Brookline.
Here's another one, Chestnut Hill.
Chestnut.
It's in Newton. It's in Brookline. It's in Boston. It's like,
it's in Newton.
yeah, it's everywhere. But I know the answer to this because I have sold houses that go back, historical houses that go back. They would all be first registered in that first time, that everything. And in those jackets, you could see some of the former deeds that would be there.
Yeah,
For instance, Beacon Hill, going up Beacon Hill.
I call it the, people who don't want to hire an attorney. I mean, that's the beauty of this system. And you're not certifying title, but the people that go on for our historical and genealogical research, you could hopscotch back by using our system. Bill O'Donnell, I own the house. Well, okay, let me look up when Bill O'Donnell bought it. Well, now the deed shows the name of the seller, and you can actually hopscotch back. And we have historical commissions. I've spoken to historical societies where people have gone back to get the names and then do research to see who lived in their house. And sometimes you can go to your local town hall to see if there's a building code jacket that could get some more information. But people use the registry to go back, and we have deeds, as I said, back to 1793, where sometimes they listed everything that was in the house. So it's kind of unique to
and the cost of it, and the cost.
And so it was.
It's fascinating.
Pretty interesting. There's a lot of great history here, but for the here and now, the biggest asset is your home.
Right.
And we've tried to build on that history, but also build on the society. We live in a technologically driven society, so we're delivering registry services a little differently. But again, the records are here, and if we don't run the registry right, think about it. The biggest asset you have is your home, and you can't rely on the records. What would happen to the real estate economy, whether it's a residential or commercial or businesses, if they can't rely on the fact that whether they even own the property? So,
if there's ever a dispute, it's always in the paperwork. That's how they solve it.
And again, there can be disputes, and that's why we have courts. But the records get recorded here, and they get recorded accurately, securely. And now you have access to all of them, because back in the day, you speaking of that letter from Nantucket, you'd have to go look at the book. Now we still do the books. I'm very proud. We were booked 17,000. We're over booked 40,000. So in my tenure since 2002, it's been tremendously busy. And some registers probably don't want to do the books, but we have people that still come in and do it the old-fashioned way. Yeah. And I look at it as another form of disaster recovery or business continuity. Sure. We have, as I mentioned, the microfilm. Right. You have the tape drive. You have the information on the
in different spots, protected.
But it's also good to have the books. All our documents, everything that's been recorded here at the registry is in a book. And we, as I said, we have on the recorded side over 40,000 books.
Right. Right. Boy, we could go on and on and on, but I know your time is limited today. It's been such a pleasure to have you with us.
Well, Larry, thanks so much. I've enjoyed the conversation, and you're doing a great service because you mentioned information. You did information now.
And what was that website again? Give our guests one more.
The website is www.norfolkdeeds.org, or if you want to email me directly, registerodonnell@norfolkdeeds.org.
Thank you again. Register of Deeds in Norfolk County, Massachusetts. It's another great show here at Broker Talk. Tune in next week. Like and subscribe and all that other kind of stuff. Thanks so much.
Recording stop.